Well, good evening. Pleasure to call the meeting of the Newark City School Board on this 13th day of August 2018 at 6:33 p.m. Willie, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Blind.
Here.
Mr. Blowers.
Here.
Ms. Nickham.
Here.
Mr. Weber.
Here.
And Mr. Carr.
Here. Now I'm going to ask Mr. Weber if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, any resolutions or recognitions? Okay, no special reports. Okay, it's communication from the floor. If there's anyone who has anything to address the board about agenda or non-agenda items, you have 5 minutes. Mr. Valadares will keep the time. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? All right, seeing nobody, we'll continue to move forward with the treasurer's recommendations.
Yes, this evening we have 4 recommendations on the agenda. First one is the approval of board meeting minutes for the July 16, 2018 regular meeting. Later B is the approval of July 2018 financial statements and payment to vendors. Letter C is the approval of fiscal year 19 temporary appropriations resolutions. And letter D is the approval of agreement with the Atrix software. Letter B, we discuss and review the financials for the month of July. This is the first month of the fiscal year, so there isn't that much activity. It's from year to year is basically a routine, regular things happen during that time of the month or the fiscal year. We'll start seeing actual differences probably perhaps after the month of October through the end of June of 2019. That's when you'll see most of the action going on in there. Letter C on the approval for fiscal year 19 temporary appropriations. You will see that the general fund is an increase of $3 million. This is mostly the NDA, Newark Digital Academy budget line item. Starting this fiscal year, now we are assuming all responsibilities.
Yes.
And this will be the budget for the Newark Digital Academy. Letter D is the contract that we have with My Explain Benefits for this employment. This is where all employees go to fill out all the information forms and get everything they need to do for the medical and dentals and life business throughout the district. And that will be all my recommendations.
All right, the treasurer's recommendations A through D. Do we have any motions for that? So moved. Thank you, Tom.
Second.
Warren will second. Any discussion? All right, would you call the vote?
Mr. Blind.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. Blowers.
Yes.
Ms. Nickham.
Yes.
Mr. Carr.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on, superintendent's recommendation.
Okay, under personnel, we've had a few staff members that moved on to other positions, which is late. It always creates a challenge. And I think Barbara and her group and our principals for we want these folks to be able to go where they want to be, go back home or those kind of things. But we need to replace them with qualified people, and I'm very confident that we've done that. So we have some personnel who will be resigning. With a couple of leave of absence on here, appointments and assignments. Well, let me just call your name we're very excited about a lot of it. John Eifert, which some of you know as Jack Eifert, and even know as Coach Eifert, girls JV basketball coach, who has interviewed here a few times the last few years. I was really impressed with him. He drove back he was coaching basketball in D.C. in a tournament. He drove back to interview with John Davis at Wilson, and Mr. Davis said, well, what are you doing the rest of the day? He said, I'm driving back to D.C. So he could have requested that phone interview, but I thought that was neat, and he had mentioned, hey, we want it in here. It was important to him, so that's kind of neat from that standpoint. I think Tim and Warren, who spent time in here with Ken Justice, our recommendation for the wrestling position. Ken has been with us for 7 years, been doing the elementary and the middle school, has a good background in that. We appreciate the work that Ken does. I'm excited for Ken to lead the program. Salary position assignments, also a list of substitute teachers on there under item 8. Other professional development training, and boy, we had a busy summer, but that's good. Our folks, or in June, what we have over 200 of our staff members in our PD in June, our 2-day PD.
Oh, yeah, like 250?
About 250 of our staff members at that 2-day training, and then it just seems like about every week, and now the last couple of weeks, every day, we have a group in here, and when you see there the KRA or managing trauma in the classrooms, our principals went to Calm Classroom training on Thursday and Friday, so it's right in line with dealing with students and traumas. Approval of the public notice. It is recommended the Board of Education approve running a public notice for the purpose of advertising a public hearing to receive input on the issue of rehiring Tonda Sapp, who is currently retired from the Newark City School District as a teacher and is seeking reemployment with the Newark City School District in the same position. Tonda retired from Hillview, sat out a year, and is going to fill one of those positions that we had over at McGuffey. From that standpoint, we're very excited to have Tonda back. Item C, the extended service days. As mentioned last month in our conversations, Todd Gallup up to 25. I mentioned that it's always up to. That'll be approved by Mark on every day that he works. And I think Todd worked 19 days this summer as we're doing so much more with our students. So that's item A.
All right, the superintendent's recommendations, A, 1 through 8. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike, in a second.
Yes, second.
Thanks, Bev.
Bev Ducat, you want to welcome her?
No, I made it earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I apologize. Teresa, Teresa, would you like to stand up and tell the board who you are and what you're doing? If you're still breathing after the last couple of days there.
Okay, my name's Teresa Seward. I came from VAT, which is a third-party contractor, and have been there 16 years. Before that, I was at another contractor. It's actually WC Brown. Was there 9 years, and then first started school bus driving in 1988 when I got my license and became an OBI. And it's just kind of progressed from there.
Teresa started for us last Monday,
Yes.
and boy, that's a great time to start as a transportation director. And she's still here, and she's smiling.
Yeah, it's going well. All the students are in, and we're good.
We appreciate your work, and I know busy time for you, so thanks for coming tonight, and heard a lot of good things about you, and so we appreciate you being in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, in another 4 or 5 months, we'll actually have a bus garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No office yet. She's,
No, that's
yeah,
okay.
so, but, okay.
Anything else, 1 through 8, in personnel? Questions, comments? Teresa, welcome.
Thank you.
And, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Blowers,
Yes.
Ms. Nicky,
Yes.
Mr. Blind,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
and Mr. Call.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item B with students and curriculum, special education contract with Toledo Public Schools. And I try to bring this up all the time. We're either have students from that district and ours, or us and theirs through foster care. Buckeye Ranch, where we'll be sending a student. Approval of out-of-state field trip. And Tim, you'll be happy to know this is over spring break. We're going to really keep an eye on that. I agree. So our softball team is going to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Over spring break might be one that we have to have some supervisors on.
That's a good location.
Item C is our gifts, and boy, do they pick up. So we have a garden garden planter from Albans Nursery, at a value of $200 for the Consumer Education Department at the high school, and they are really doing a good job with so good, you know, you walk by there and they're making cookies, and she wants to give you cookies, but it doesn't have any sugar or anything. She's really good with the healthy food, so good for her. A buddy bench, which we're really excited, from the Joseph Middlemas Big Heart Foundation. This was a gift in memory of Caden Wentz at Cherry Valley Elementary School, valued at $600, and we appreciate that family that did that. So buddy benches where they can go sit if they have no one to play with at recess, and others can see that, or if they're being bullied or something that way. It's actually something we're looking at in some of our other buildings, so that's really nice of that family to do that, again, in memory of Caden Wentz. Book bags and school supplies for elementary schools from Dr. Tom Hall, valued at $300. Very nice of Dr. Hall to do that. Book bags, kindergarten and first grade students for Ben Carson McGuffey from the Costco store in Easton, which was wonderful, with $2,250. I think there's about 500 book bags that were delivered last week in big boxes, and in those book bags we have folders, pencils, rulers, so there were some things in the book bags there. So that is very, very, as a Costco member myself, I'm very excited about that. Costco would do that. It's very nice of them.
Yeah.
Under business, contract services, recommend the Board of Education approve change order number 2 in the amount of $12,096 from Duraseal for the pavement project at Legend Elementary and Liberty Middle School. If you'll remember, a month or so ago, we approved a change order because the price came in lower than expected, and so we did a bigger area. We did the bigger area. Now you got to dig that soil out, so Tom Blind doesn't come back in 6 years and say, hey, you know. So Tom made that, and it was good because, you know, the last one wasn't down long enough so that soil shifted under. I don't know, Mark, how many feet we went down?
He told me it was 2 feet of gravel, about 4 feet of mud, and then 2 feet of gravel. In a couple of sections in the parking area closest to one of the wings that comes out of the buildings where the teachers park there, staff parking in the front there. So stabilized all that ground underneath there. That was what this did. So we're hoping that solidifies the problem and stabilizes the ground. We don't get any shifting or cracking.
Yep. Contract with Public School Works, also number 3, Makerspace rooms, furniture approved. If you'll remember the high school and Makerspace back in the media center, we had back there in the middle and elementary schools, we want to explore a little bit that way, so we're transforming some things. It really spawns some creativity from the students, and if you ever get a chance, our high school Makerspace is really, really good, and so we're investing a little bit down in the lower levels to service our students down there. 2018-2019 lunch prices, recommend the board increase lunch price for students to $2.85 and adults to $3.25 beginning the school year. I will emphasize, this is something that we're required to do. And the board did a good thing a year ago. Instead of making it one giant leap, stepped into that. So we're required to set our prices at a certain amount, even though, you know, we talk a lot about being in the black in our food service, and that's just a requirement to do to get the reimbursement for free and reduced lunch. So items B, C, and D.
All right, superintendent's items B, C, and D, a motion for those.
So,
Thanks, Beverly. Second. Carl, thanks. Any questions?
Yeah, Jordan, can you explain the public school works just real briefly? I tried reading through it and I was like,
Yeah, sir. This is the public schools, Amy.
Yeah, I can tell you one big component of it. It's how our employees do their online training for all of their safety. Mark can speak to that, but they also put the work orders in for maintenance as well as IT. so that it's an electronic process. They just fill out the forms, it autofills, goes through the proper channels for approvals, and then ends up in whatever department. So we get our work orders that way.
Explains why I didn't understand what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, the online training, you'll get an email telling you you're required to do this training, or you're past due to do a training. And it might be for handle hazardous materials, or
Fire safety.
right, fire safety, work-related
Bullying.
safety
Yeah.
issues, bullying. And so that's all online for our employees. When we talk about our bus garage and that room for our bus drivers with that back there, so they can do some of that kind of training like that here in a room at the bus garage. That's all online.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Call the vote, please.
Ms. Nickam?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Blowers?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
And Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any reports or recommendations? Gentlemen.
I do have one. I noticed, and then maybe you all received it from OSBA about the governor signed several pieces of legislation concerning the schools, and one of them was House Bill 318, and in it talked about $12 million being set aside for competitive grants that will be available for 2019. Earmarked for training for SROs, school safety initiative, and increasing the awareness of staff about mental health issues affecting students. So I don't know if that'll come to
Yeah, we'll look at it. The last bit of funds we got for school safety, we enhanced our, even though our buildings were new, we enhanced our cameras and stuff, the entries to our schools is when we spent that. We'll certainly look at that grant as it's released. I haven't seen anything yet on it, but it'll get released, and then we'll find out the requirements.
It just came out, this just came out the 8th of August, so thought I'd pass it on.
Thank you.
Very good. Board discussion. New guy.
I'm
Welcome back. Welcome back.
happy to be back so I can field any questions. Anyway, I'm happy to be back. Tim's ecstatic, I know he is, right?
Trying to contain it.
Okay. I'm happy to be back. Open house is coming up. I'm excited. I'm going to actually get to go to some open houses this year, so I'm looking forward to that. Easy to find them on the schedule online. So, and then I think tomorrow we have a lunch and an induction.
Yeah.
I'm excited about being there for that too. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
So it is.
Yes.
Keep it a secret.
Yeah, keep it a secret. Our superintendent is going to be president of BASA, and the induction is tomorrow at, actually lunch is at noon, and the induction's at 1 o'clock. So looking forward to seeing you there. Bass fishing.
Yeah, bass fishing. I wouldn't be anything in that, I can tell you that.
That's all I have. Thank you.
I would like to offer a thank you to the folks who made the donations. It's amazing how many donations this district seems to get from various people. With the beginning of the school year also comes the beginning of the activities. A lot of our students have been busy preparing for sports, for band, that sort of thing. Get out there and support our students. Want to welcome the new staff people. And also for our millions of viewers, as Tim claims we have, with school starting, there's going to be lots of little ones walking the sidewalks, the streets. Please slow down and be careful.
The Ohio Capital Conference is coming up, so I didn't know how many board are going, or maybe we can get a list of who's going and what time they're going and how they're going, and make it a lot easier. That's about it.
sign. Of course, we had the rally in the alley, and that was very successful. And thank you to all those people that donated and volunteered the time. But just driving around town, you see signs everywhere. This church is collecting supplies. This church is having a drive. There's so many community groups and community members that are helping out our kids. It's just really heartwarming to see how many people chip in every year to help our kids and get back to school. It's really, really appreciated. So thank you to all those community members and organizations. And then, of course, yeah, it's time to go to the school building to get your class list and see who your teacher is. So it's a very exciting time for the students, as well as the teachers. I've bumped into a few teachers that are actually pretty excited to get back to work. And so it's always a fun time of year back to school. So enjoy, and as Tom said, be careful, slow down, watch out for the kids, because they are indeed everywhere.
Well, looking forward to fiscal year 19 and gearing up to get our books and ready to roll, and making sure that we got everything ready for school year 19 and everybody gets their payment accordingly.
Yeah, as Tom mentioned, school will be starting, so our students will be traveling to and from school, and you know, as probably mid-September, our after-school programs will be starting in our schools, and that even keeps students longer till 6 o'clock at night, and so they'll be going all over the streets, and I would say to our families out there, make sure that you're not walking to school alone, that you're with a friend, and you're watching out for each other and observing all the safety laws. I spoke at Kiwanis today for 20 or 25 minutes or so, and man, I thought I just got started talking. I turned around and the president was standing up. It was time for me to get done. But that, you know, driving back to the office, yeah, the light was flashing, cut it off without even taking a break, I guess. But driving back to the office, you know, I was kind of thinking that man, am I excited for the start of the school year, but I'm excited about a lot of things that we have going on for our students. And it's so easy just to talk about what we're doing here. And I would love to always try to recognize the group over here to the right that's worked very hard. They have big jobs and a lot of responsibility, and they're just good folks, and put a lot of time in, and are good leaders in our district. And we're ready for school to start. And you know, we talked last week, it's time to get kids back in our buildings to get some calmness, and that's what we're here for. So these buildings kind of seem empty and that, but we're here for the students and their families, and we're excited. And as I mentioned, a lot of good things going on there. As Bev mentioned, I agree with that. I saw an email last week. One of our principals sent our text to us, a picture of the church, Nick Byers, and the church that he goes to, and all the people in there getting school supplies and that. So, and that's just one example. The back to school event down at the Works, all of those that Gemma's group they coordinate. Gemma, do you have a number? You think
263 people.
263 people down there, and I know we're collecting here. We collected at Rotary. Churches are collecting out there. The bottom line is our students and family need our community to step up, and it's good to be in a community that steps up, and little things like that make a big difference to people. So we did more than just school supplies down there. And clothing.
Uniforms, we fitted for uniforms and place orders. All backpacks. We wrapped away 2 bikes, which was exciting, and of course school supplies. Haircuts, actually, too. We had haircuts.
Haircuts, you know, all those kind of things, which is wonderful to see. And I know our school clothing, I will tell John Fisher, Director of Job and Family Service over there, is such a good man, and his group is very good in our community. John sees to it that it funnels some funds to Gemma so that we have money to buy clothing for students coming back. And we always talk about, if you have clothes at home that you want to donate, please bring them into one of our buildings. And you know, there are families I run into sometimes say, "Oh, my child graduated, had 4 or 5 pair of khakis and some shirts," and say, "Please bring them into the principal would love to have that, and they do, and we appreciate all that, so. It's a great time to be a CAP, we're ready to roll.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm ready for my kids to get out of my house by 7:30 in the morning. All right, and I'm ready for some normalcy. None of you can tell Drew that tomorrow. But I'm excited. I am excited about school because that return to normalcy somewhat is kind of neat. But I have very much enjoyed it, and I hope all the students and all the parents have enjoyed their time with each other over the summer. Family is such an important part of people's lives. Teresa Seward,
Yes.
we showed your picture and all that stuff, but you are the transportation supervisor for New York City Schools. You're replacing Jason Keys, and then you're going to be working out of that bus garage and making sure everybody gets where they need to go, and you're the one to call if there's an issue. So I'm just throwing that out.
Teresa, what's your cell phone number?
But if you're bored at home, call Mark Shively. Also, it'd be nice to know what BASA is. It is not bass fishing. It is the Buckeye Administrators and Superintendents Association. And the fact that Doug will be becoming president means that the folks that belong to that organization think an awful lot of him, as do we. And so we're honored tomorrow to have that presentation here. And not here actually, but over at the high school. And a pretty neat thing. The fact that people continue to give gifts to our schools and to our children is a wonderful thing. And Costco, those boxes were huge.
Yes, it
Yes.
And there were lots of them. And so it's really neat to see those kind of things happen. But buddy benches, and you know, every one of those things makes a big difference. I know the teachers and students are gearing up. My credit card shows that my kids have been back to school shopping. And but if uniforms are an issue, all the administrators in the schools have access to those. So give them a call and say, hey, we could use a couple shirts or some pairs of pants, and they can connect you with that. And that's something we want to do. It's not something we do grudgingly in any way. Final shout out is this. My daughter's playing volleyball for one of our middle school teams, and that starts Friday with a scrimmage. So it's not waiting anytime soon. Football's coming soon. Band is doing a performance tonight at the Whites Field for the parents. First show for the parents, pretty cool stuff. But when I go to one of the sports meetings, there's this tall fella named Jeff Quackenbush who shows up and gives about a 15-minute spiel that I think he's got memorized now because he's done it so many times. And every once in a while, there's somebody who you just see that does an absolutely incredible job in our district. And he's not the only one, there's lots of those. But today I want to say he does a great job. And he is really, really good as an athletic director. He deals with a lot of the parents. He deals with all these things. And he's got to go through and check every kid's grades. He's got to go through and tell Pam to do all these things. And, you know, but he's got all these responsibilities. And, you know, and sometimes you got guys and ladies in our schools that do just a standout job, and nobody ever says, hey, nice job. So for the millions, and I think it's down to 975,000 now. That makes you guys happy. Jeff Quackenbush is awesome and does a great job. And so I appreciate all he does for our schools. And he's one of the reasons it's a great time to be a cat. That said, we are going to adjourn to an executive session for the purpose of discussing compensation for employees. And will there be any action after or no? We're just discussing? All right, so there'll be no action afterwards. But I do need a motion to go to executive session. Warren? Tom? Yeah? Okay, Warren and Tom. We need to call roll on that or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Blind?
Yes.
Mr. Blauer?
Yes.
Ms. Nickman?
Yeah.
And Mr. Carr?
Yes.
We are in executive session.
All right, executive session?
8.
Yeah.